So when we took this love language test, we had some interesting results. For me, my love language is acts of service.
My love language was quality time.
So we've had a lot of discussions about this since we took this test. One of the surprises I had was that I'm a hugger, and I thought maybe physical touch would be high, but it actually was one of the lowest rated. So we had a lot of discussion, and as engineers, we kind of figure things out from a mathematical standpoint. And I think we've decided that at least the top three, when you get down to it, if you had answered a question one question a different way, it would have upset the balance. So we kind of believe that most of us respond positively to all those 5 languages. It's just the exercise helps us identify which ones are the top priority. But like I said, I think those 3 can shift at any time. And our theory is that it shifts in an area where you feel you may be a little bit out of balance. So at the moment I took that test, I think I might have been feeling like I was doing a lot and would welcome more active service from my partner. So I rated that one high. It might be the same for him, with the quality.
It's like a little bit of a moving target, and I think that's probably the most challenging part for couples. It's sort of like playing the game Mastermind, where you have to sort of figure out what your partner's needs are at that time. And that's the language of love that you need to contribute at that time.
We also, I think what it helped me to understand was not necessarily what what his love language is in terms of what I need to do for him, but to understand that he's doing things for me in his love language. And while it might not be my own, it's his. And to recognize that he is doing this out of love for me in his own language. So it kind of goes both ways. Right?
Yeah. So I think it's a great discussion point because it makes you reflect and makes you realize that you have to understand what's important to your partner.
Hi. So our love languages are both touch. We both that's our highest priority. Although all the 5 love languages play into everyday life. I guess. One of the things that we learned, we really enjoyed listening to some of the older couples, Bud and Sue, when Sue talked about how she enjoys Bud eating his morning cereal and
clankety
clank. We loved that was great, and it plays into the idea of you're loving your partner through all that stuff. And they're going to be that way because that's who they are, and you love them anyway.
So when we took the love language test, my love languages, they were actually tied. Mine was one was physical touch and the other was quality time. And for you?
And mine was words of affirmation.
And then a close second for him was quality time too. So so something that I learned from this was that I actually haven't thought of the fact that different people express love differently, and like growing up with seeing how my parents interacted with each other, they weren't very vocal people too. They express their love by helping each other, by spending time together. I have actually never heard my parents say I love you to each other. So when I learned that and when I took the test, I realized different people express love differently, and that's when I realized the way that I interact with him and the way he expects the way he responds positively mostly is if I sort of vocalize it, and that was a really good lesson.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with that. I think one thing that occurred to me as we took this workshop was that you need to honor when people have made the effort to communicate with you in your love language, especially when it isn't theirs. And you know, Janeth's first language is not English, and he would probably say that language, spoken written language, is not his favorite way to always communicate or express himself. But when I know that he's made the effort to do that, is I really should take the time to honor that and be thankful for that, because that's what relationships tend to be about, is finding ways that you can be the person for your partner that is not necessarily your first impulse, but that's part of your responsibility as a good partner, I think.
And something that we also realized was that for both of us, the lowest scoring one was giving gifts. So then we realized we actually ended up spending a lot less money on gifts on each other.
We didn't buy each other Christmas presents because why? Let's save the money for the other people in our families that actually want them. So,
and after learning this, this was so much in our lives, we actually ended up wearing the love languages as our Halloween costume. So you'll see that in the video next.
And as for advice to other couples, I think it's really important, once you understand what each other's needs are at any point in time, recognizing that it is a moving target and it's always changing and evolving, that you change and evolve with it. But you have to set an intention to do that. And so it's nice to remind yourselves on a regular basis to be intentional about what your partner's needs are at any given time, and to try to fulfill those needs.
And communication. You need to be talking openly with your partner about these things so that you can be on the same page.
I had read recently, and I thought it would be worth sharing, that every couple should have 3 couples, other couples, that they surround themselves with, or groups of couples. One is a mentor, a couple that you can look up to kind of help you go through some of the good times and the bad times. And then the fun couple, the couples that you get together with on a regular basis and share fun stories of what's going on. And then finally, a couple that you can mentor. All the things that you've learned, you can then pass on to another couple who might be starting out. So there's 3 groups of couples that should be a part of every couple's life.
One of the things we wanted to pass on to other couples, younger couples, people starting out, there's a lot of things that you hear to think about, communication and, you know, patience and all that is great. And we were thinking about something that is maybe not thought of as much, just politeness to your partner. You know, maybe you're trying to get to the kitchen cabinet and they're standing there and, pardon me, my love. Why, thank you, sweetheart. You know.
Pardon me, my sweet.
It's kind of basic, but it just sets the atmosphere of loving instead of frustration and anger, and it works really well for us. I just wanted to pass that along.
we also were asked to give advice to other couples, which we were like, so we haven't been together that long. We're not that old.
The youngest couple.
So you know, we do have a couple things that we've learned from our own relationship. Take them as you will. If it's helpful, use it. If not, don't. But I think one thing that I've really learned that's important is don't sweat the small stuff. Let things go if they're not a big deal. Don't let them go if they are a big deal. If there's things that are important to communicate, that make sure you say them. But in that same vein, say them at the right time. You can have the right thing to say about how you're feeling, but it may not be the right time to say it. So use your real discernment and wisdom and empathy, if you can, to say, this is a good thing that I don't need to say right now. I can say it later.
And something that like I would advise, I mean, for me this was like my first like long-term relationship, so everything was like really new to me, and something that might be very obvious to other people but I didn't realize was that different people like interact or like they communicate differently, and sort of like having that understanding was really helpful, and that sort of like helped me to be patient and understand how he works. So like that lesson was like something that was very helpful in our relationship.
Yeah.
Thank you.